Diaries of a Madman. Written by What Must I Do? Chapter 17. Coming Down from the High of War. Part 2. I looked down at Spike, who was looking at the sheep with what looked like hunger in his eyes. "Spike, how long has it been since you ate?" I asked. He blinked and looked away from the sheep.
Last night, probably. I didn't feel like up to eating breakfast."
I stuck my hand in my pocket and fingered the bag of coins. "Enough to get food, if nothing else. Let's find a bazaar or something and get you some food then. I'm not gonna have you..." I looked at the crowd that was still staring at us in fear. I decided against saying what I was going to say. Let's go."
"Can we find some meat?"
he asked, hunger evident in his voice. I closed my eyes so I didn't have to see everyone in the audience flinch. "Damn it, Spike." I grabbed him and put him over my shoulder. "Watch my back. If one of them tries to come at me, let me know." So I got a bit paranoid in Egypt. I'm okay with that. You know, I kind of forgot there was a whole starvation thing going on. I passed several stalls with withered fruit and all wanted more than I was willing to pay. We were nearly looking for an hour when I leaned against the sidewall, Spike at my side. "Celestia is gonna starve me back in the castle, like it or not," I wearily said. I actually didn't have a problem with that. She was usually fun to talk to, and living in the royal seat of power has all manner of benefits. But I liked having options. If I needed to go somewhere else, still, living near the coast gave me options. "If it comes down to it, I'll teach you how to fish," I finally said. Spike didn't say anything. He was too busy watching the crowds of passing sheep with hunger in his eyes. The sheep were relatively used to us now, but many of them still stopped and stared until they noticed that Spike was staring back with a terrifying expression. He might be a baby dragon, but he was still a predator, and his time with the cat gave him a taste for meat. When I looked into his eyes, I saw more of a dangerous glint in them. It looked less like he was going to talk to someone, and more like he was going to hunt them down and make them a little snack. I was so proud. Now, because that seems perhaps cruel, let me put it into perspective for you. Spike is a motherfucking dragon. A dragon. The kings of mythology of my world. And he is working as a servant for a unicorn. A unicorn is the living embodiment of purity in my world. They only appear for virgins and haha, laugh it up, my first pony encounter all you want, it's fucking true. So a dragon out of legends born of blood and fire is a servant to a symbol of weakness and purity. That just seems fucked up to me. Don't get me wrong, I think it's cool that he's friends with all the ponies, but it still doesn't seem right that he's Twilight's assistant. Maybe I'm just biased from my legends and myths, although he certainly seemed happy enough back then. I shook myself. "Spike, we aren't gonna find any affordable food. Let's go find a tailor." He looked at one young ram.
"I don't know, Nav. I see plenty of easy food out there."
I looked at him in disgust. "If you're gonna talk about eating something that can talk one more time, I'm gonna go to Twilight. It's one thing to eat animals that aren't sapient, but when you start eating things that think, there's a problem." He looked at me in shock.
"How do you know what we were eating in Egypt wasn't that word you used?"
I shrugged. "I didn't kill it, and I would have starved if I didn't eat it. I would never willingly kill and eat something that is smart enough to communicate with me. Ignorance, however, is bliss. Now let's stop talking about this before one of these damn sheep calls the guards." He sighed as I put him back on my back. "Now you know how I felt all this time," I said as means of consolation. He didn't answer. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find a tailor willing to accommodate me. I talked to most of the damn tailors in the city too. The most frequent answer I heard was a gentle no. A few of them let their eyes flick the Spike before saying no. I tried leaving him outside once to see if the result was different, and it wasn't. So 4 hours later, we began making our way back to the castle.
"What was the point of that, Nav?"
Spike asked as we trudged our way to the stairs of an inn. a sheep shaking in fear leading the way to us. We got us away from Twilight and Celestia for a few hours, I sadly answered.
You never did say why you were avoiding her.
I didn't know which her he meant. I don't want to talk to Celestia, and Twilight was being a bitch. I then think Spike smiled at that, but he was behind me, so I couldn't tell. The sheep turned to look at me.
You know the princess?
He squeaked. Yeah, we both do, I answered. She's my boss, and she's his boss's boss. Pretty nice lady, for the most part. I thought the sheep was terrified before. Now he could barely stand. Thankfully, we quickly reached the door leading to the roof. The sheep did everything he could but shove us out to get us outside, and he slammed the door behind us. I looked out over the city inside. This world sucks, Spike, I finally said. He snorted.
Better than the one you left behind,
he answered. That was a lot more sagely than anything I would have expected from him. I didn't have an answer, so I just picked him up and jumped off the roof, letting my wings carry us back to the palace. Thankfully, my window was still open. It was a lot easier to jump out of than it was to land in, but I managed it with a liberal dose of cursing and climbing. There was a note on my pillow. I set Spike down and checked it.
I am letting you get away with this because of what you went through. If you ever do it again, I will not let you go 2 meters before bringing you back. And if you don't have a good excuse, you better be kneeling. Meet me in the throne room when you're ready to stop sulking. Celestia.
About what I expected, all things considered. I showed it to Spike. He read it quickly and shrugged.
Are you really surprised?
He asked. Nope. I'm just glad I'm too useful to her to be punished too severely. I paused for a moment. I wonder why she's in the throne room. Isn't she supposed to be fixing the weather or something? Spike shrugged.
Twilight told me that today is an off day. She was in one of her moods because Princess Celestia refuses to let her work on this day of the week. The sheep believe in something special, significance, or something.
Well, we are in Israel, Lamb of God and all that. You won't hear me complaining, I said. Do you think I'm ready to stop sulking? I feel like sulking some more, but I don't know if Celestia would really let me. He rolled his eyes and pointed at the door. I gave a small sigh and snapped my fingers in disappointment. Well, she didn't say I couldn't bring an arbiter, I said. And I have no idea where the throne room is. You want to sit in on the meeting between Celestia and a foreign ambassador of humans?
Not really,
he sighed.
But I also really don't feel like going back to Twilight.
I pulled out one of my coins. Heads for Twilight, tail... Wait. I looked at the coin. One side had the sun and the other side had the moon. For fuck's sake. Sun for Celestia, moon for Twilight. I flipped it and let it fly for a moment before snatching it out of the air. He watched it with his purple eyes. Now, when it was in the air, which side did you want it to land on? He blinked.
The sun?
He finally said. I opened my hand to see the moon facing up. I smiled down at him. That's how you tell what you really want to do. And now that you know the trick, I can tell you that it only works until you know it. Lead the way. I finished with a wave of my arm. He took the lead, shaking his head in confusion. It didn't take us long to get there, and we passed an increasing number of guards and servants on the way. When we got to the entrance to the throne room, I expected to be patted down for weapons. I was kind of surprised when they let us right in. Then I remembered that this was Celestia. She was pretty much the sun goddess and an incredibly powerful mage. Sure, a knife can cut her down, but good luck using it on her. Spike and I walked down the long carpet leading up to Celestia, sitting in her throne and attended a mix of sheep and ponies. When we got to within appropriate distance expected of a visitor of royalty, we stopped. Spike stood at my side looking around. I stood at general at ease position, looking at Celestia's servants. One of them, a sheep in what looked like dyed-wool clothing, glared at me.
Are you not going to bow, creature?
She asked harshly.
This is your princess.
I looked at Celestia to see if she would speak up. She seemed content to watch with a little smile she always wears. I looked back at the sheep. I make no obstinance of any living thing, sheep. Celestia, of the sheep in the room, flinched when I said her name. has earned my respect, but I do not bow. The sheep I was speaking to gave me a look of hate for that, and I'm pretty sure if she was a guy, she would have challenged me to some manner of duel. She opened her mouth again, but Celestia cut her off.
I don't suppose you would think to ask why he doesn't bow, would you?
The sheep changed what she was going to say and instead hissed out,
Why, creature?
I smiled darkly. Where I come from, we killed our kings and queens, and princes and princesses, when they decided they wanted more power than was appropriate. I've lived in a nation without a monarch all my life. Royal blood sheds just as easily as commoner blood, so there's no reason to respect it more. I respect Celestia for being wise and kind, but the title of princess means nothing to me. Most of the people in the room were quite shocked at that. I think the only ones that weren't were me and Celestia. Even Spike was a little off-put. I don't think he ever knew why I was so callous. Enough about me, I said, walking everyone from their reverie of horror. I believe I was called here for a reason. Celestia was still wearing her little smile.
I was going to do this in a more private area, but since you disappeared on me, I suppose we'll have to do it here. Remove your shirt, Navarone,
she said. The looks of horror moved to her now instead of me. I smirked and took it off. I knew she was trying to shame me, but I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of blushing. I looked at the guards. Calm now, soldiers. If she wanted to seduce me, she knows where I sleep. She just wishes to rid me of a nasty blight. We turned and saw the tattoo on me. Those that weren't blushing before nor now. This day was turning out to be very odd for them. It seemed Celestia beckoned me closer and I came forward. She reached her horn out and gently pressed onto the area with the horrid thing. It slowly ripped out of my skin, the ink collecting around her horn. When it was all pulled out, she pushed the ink into a blob and pulled a bottle of ink over a small writing table and let the ink flow into it. I backed away and put my shirt on.
Painless, as I promised,
Celestia said. My method would have been faster, I replied, stroking a hand over the handle of the dagger in my belt. Still, the tattoo removal back where I came from would cost me quite a bit. Thank you. Her smile deepened a bit.
No pony said this was to be free, Navarone,
she said.
You should know to ask for prices before receiving a service.
I shrugged. Whatever the price is, I've been through worse. Being brutally raped every night for a week at hand of a very sadistic cat bitch gives a man a perspective when it comes to high prices. She flinched slightly at the mention of that, and I knew I would hear words from Spike on that later. Chelsea's smile never wavered, though.
My price will not be that steep, I believe. Unless, of course, you considered a dinner to be a terrifying ordeal.
Dinner would be nice, I answered. I know Spike, at least, has been hungry. Unless, I said with a raised eyebrow and a smile on my own. You meant this to be a more private affair.
There will be others there, of course,
she said. Man, Celestia is really good at this. Nothing I say trips her up, though she's also had a few thousand years of experience.
If, however, you are interested in a more private meal, I'm sure something can be arranged.
She almost tripped me up there, but I'm afraid I'll have to decline, Celestia, I said with a weary shake of my head. I have someone waiting for me back home, and I fear she would be most displeased to me if she found I was cavorting with another. By choice, that is. I think displeased might be an understatement of what Luna would be if she found I was trying things with her sister. Her smile dropped and her eyes narrowed.
Remember that the next time you stoop to flirting with the maids.
I sniffed. Sheep are uglier than ponies. I wasn't flirting. I was asking for clothes. It's hardly my fault that she had the flight of youthful naivety and misconstrued it. I think I insulted pretty much every female in the room with that statement. I was okay with that. Either way, I'm pretty sure Celestia knew what I did to that poor chick, even though I honestly don't consider that flirting. She was giving me the princess look. If I didn't know better, I think she was gonna go summon an executioner.
Don't discuss your adventures with Twilight, or any pony else, until we have a talk in private, Navarone,
she finally said.
You are both dismissed.
I nodded and turned to go. Spike followed me out of the room. Well, that went well, I said as the door shut behind us. He looked at me in fear.
Well,
He croaked.
you're lucky she didn't banish you.
I wanted to ruffle his hair, but he didn't have any. I'm too useful to be banished, I finally said. I'll manage it someday, but I think for now she needs me. The guard at the door didn't look that happy about that statement, but I also didn't care. He moved down the halls a ways and I asked, "Where to now?" He sighed. I said, "I know you don't want to, but sooner or later you're gonna have to see her. You are still Twilight's assistant, even if she is being annoying right now. After Celestia has her little talk with me, I'll have a talk with Twilight and things might get better. Until then, though, you're gonna have to put up with her. If nothing else, I'll be there as a buffer for you."
I don't know, Nav.
Look, if I have to deal with Celestia breathing down my neck after the hell I went through for her, you can deal with Twilight being annoying after the adventure you had. He turned and started down the hall. I followed after a moment and he spoke up.
It's not just that, Nav. She's, well, the only caretaker I've ever known, really. But she didn't tell me so much about myself. I never knew I could eat meat. I never knew the desert climate felt so good. I never knew being around warlike ponies would feel so natural. What else could she be hiding from me, Nav?
I don't know, Spike. Hell, in my world, the dragons of legends are warlike and powerful, often raiding villages and the like for food and riches. They are usually considered evil, but there are some notable exceptions. And of course, there are some noble dragons as well. We have all manner of stuff on them back where I come from. We also have plenty of legend on unicorns and pegasi, and I know most of it doesn't fit, so take what I tell you with dragons with a grain of salt. He sighed again.
Maybe there are books back home that can tell me more.
Dude, maybe there are books here that can tell you more. You never know until you start searching. He looked at me with hope in his eyes.
Can you help me look?
If I have time, yeah. I don't know what Celestia's gonna be having me doing, but I'm pretty sure Twilight would help you as well, if you told her why you were looking. He shook his head.
You think she'll help me find information that she's been hiding from me? If anything, she'll go straight to the correct books, pretend to look through them, and then discard them telling me they're useless.
That's assuming she's actually hiding this from you and not just ignorant. I mean, I can't imagine too many ponies would be willing to try to interview a dragon. There might not be too much information on you guys.
Maybe. I'll have to find out some other way. Still, it doesn't hurt to look.
We were silent for a moment, and he hesitantly asked,
So, what do your legends say about girl dragons?
Mostly nothing, I answered. Or at least, nothing that I know of. A lot of stories have male dragons kidnapping princesses and the like, but the reason is usually because she's considered beautiful and a treasure worth having, and dragons covet her for that reason. A few legends have female dragons falling in love with male humans, but again the reasoning is rarely explained. In the few legends there are of them, females are often described as graceful and beautiful, and very, very deadly. I don't know anything else. The rest of the walk to Twilight's room was in silence. When we got there, though...
Where have you two been?
Twilight demanded in a very angry tone. Spike and I looked at her. I turned to him. Wait outside for a moment. He left without a word. Twilight stared daggers at me. When the door clicked closed, I turned to her. Are you in heat? Her eyes softened and she gave a bright blush.
That's personal.
I nodded slowly. That explains a lot. It did, actually. I thought back over all the little episodes of insanity she went through often, and many of them coincided with her estrus cycle. Probably was. I've noticed that estrus doesn't seem to be synchronized for ponies and is instead more like a human girl's period, with a whole lot of horniness. I think Spike will be staying with me for a few days while you deal with this. We just got back from some seriously trying times, and I don't think it would be a good idea for him to be around a considerably more volatile you. She was still blushing heavily, but she whispered,
That might be best.
Now that she had an excuse for her bitchiness, I nodded and turned to go.
Nav, wait.
I turned back to her. It looked like she really wanted to say something, but after a moment she seemed to deflate.
Don't tell any pony about this. Please?
Don't worry, Twilight. I know how to be discreet when I need to be. If anyone asks, just tell them Spike has been hanging around me for so long, he wants to keep doing so. She gave a hesitant nod.
One more thing.
She said suddenly, as though just thinking of it.
Here's your bag.
She used her magic to throw my bag of clothes from Equestria at me. I checked it. Most of my clothes that I brought were in there. They were all way too big on me now, but they were still better than wearing the same damn thing every day. I nodded at her. Thanks, Starlight. She smiled. I turned and left the room. I found Spike looking around innocently. I knew he had been listening at the door. Still, I had to pretend. You're going to be staying with me for a few days, I told him as we pulled the door shut behind me. Just until we think you're more acclimatized to things here. We started walking back to my room. He shrugged.
I'm okay with that. I'm more used to sleeping on a bed anyway now.
If you're going to be sleeping in that bed, it'll be because I'm next to you. I'm not sleeping on the floor just so you can have the bed to yourself.
I know you're used to sharing a bed anyway,
he said. My eyes shut down at him in surprise, which quickly turned to anger, which melted into ambivalence as I realized he didn't mean anything about that.
I don't know what happened to your other bed, but I know you ended up having to sleep next to Capt.
Well, that was sort of true. We didn't do much sleeping. We continued.
I just hope you don't have too many more nightmares.
He shuddered slightly.
I heard you screaming one night.
I nodded. I'm glad you're innocent, Spike. He looked at me as though remembering something.
Nav, what does rape mean?
I sighed. Don't worry about it, and don't ask anyone else. Pretend you never heard it.
Okay, so what was that on your shoulder?
I unconsciously rubbed the spot where the filthy thing was. Just a bad memory is all. Don't worry about it either, and don't tell anyone you saw it.
Nav, why are you hiding things from me?
You'll feel bad if I tell you, I cautioned.
I'd rather feel bad than not know.
Because what was done to me was the worst crime possible for one living thing to commit against another, and you don't need to know about that. He stopped walking. I kept going. After a moment, he got up.
And you're just okay with that?
He asked in a quiet voice. Nope. I'm pretty sure my mind is still in shock after what I went through and the things I did. I'll probably never have a comfortable night's sleep again, and there's a decent chance I'll have flashbacks forever.
Then why did you...
He stopped again, probably getting it.
This is all my fault.
Did I say that? I asked, stopping and turning to him. He looked down, unable to meet my blank gaze. Don't put words in my mouth, Spike. It wasn't your fault. It was the fault of those that used you. Never blame yourself for something you have no control over, and never blame someone else for something they have no control over. He said and looked up. Now you know why I didn't want to tell you, I said. He didn't move. I walked up to him, picked him up and put him over my shoulders, and continued the walk to my room. I don't know why I never considered Spike's nature to be a touchy subject for him. And genuinely, I don't think Twilight is like holding back on telling Spike what he is. I think it's more like a, hey, this thing makes you a bad person when you do it, so probably we shouldn't do this. Also, dragons are kinda sorta rare in these parts, at least friendly dragons from the sound of it. So I'm curious, Spike has really grown on me ever since the Desert Saga started. He's coming into himself as a character, a really naive kid, but someone that really is trying his best with the information he has. So I hope they expand on Spike some more, because Spike and Nav are one of my favorite combos. You know, the fucked up regular guy and the kid who's on the ride and doesn't understand a lot. Especially his question about like what rape is and stuff like that. It's an interesting topic on itself. I wonder what you guys think. Who else think on those wonderful ideas? Did I just... I don't have a segue for this, especially after such a dark subject. Thank you to my wonderful Patreons. Thank you my tier 1s and a brand new one. Cal Vito, CH, Lost Nebula, Lord High, Michael McDonald, Julia Costa Peters, Night and Game, Redeemer of Dark, Nobody, Mr. Crazy Deacon, Macario, Pony Boy Entertainment, Jason, Hyperlink, Dreamless Portal, HKH4, and Chase Lemaster. My tier 2s, Captain Blue Shadow, a new one, Centurion V, Max Garbanzo, Rocky2522, Cloud Zaza, G-Man 121 Garza, Voyal Cod, Weewoo, Styx, Nocturne, Saint Gonk, Steel Spark, Andrew Ingram, Potato 20, Rihanni Dragonwolf, Mackenzie McColas, H1 Wolf King, Elemental Wolf, Azuzu 1842, DJ Sheldon, Danish Dash, Soul Brother Mordred, and Solus Eclipse. The big thing in my previous Titan tiers, Dark Guardian, Danish Dash, Maverick, and User 1842. The big thing in my current ones, Bis Eclipse, and Silent Titan. I appreciate your support so much, and it means a ton to me. That aside, however, this has been Fireheart. Have a wonderful day.